"You can write a song anywhere," Brad Arnold once said, describing how lyrics came to him while working outdoors or standing quietly with his thoughts. That simple truth captures who he has always been, a songwriter rooted in ordinary moments, turning them into something extraordinary. When the rock world collectively paused in early 2026, it wasn't because a voice had vanished, but because people were forced to confront how deeply that voice mattered. Fans felt a sudden hush, a realization of vulnerability behind the anthems that once made them feel invincible. Brad Arnold had spent decades singing about strength, doubt, and perseverance. And now listeners were hearing those words differently. This moment became less about fear and more about awareness, gratitude, and reflection. It reminded millions that behind every powerful chorus stands a human being carrying unseen weight, choosing to keep singing anyway. More than a frontman. For nearly 3 decades, Brad Arnold has been the steady heartbeat of Three Doors Down, a band that weathered changing trends and shifting sounds without losing its identity. While many groups faded, Brad endured, not by chasing reinvention, but by staying honest. On stage, he appeared unbreakable, a familiar presence anchoring fans to a simpler sense of rock authenticity. Offstage, his life was layered, marked by resilience and responsibility. Being the face of a generation's soundtrack meant carrying expectations few truly understand. Yet Brad never leaned into spectacle. He showed up in jeans and a t-shirt, letting the songs do the heavy lifting. That consistency made him relatable and trusted. He wasn't performing a character. He was living his truth in real time. That is why his journey resonates beyond music, touching something deeply human in his audience. Songs that became lifelines. For millions of listeners, songs like "It's Not My Time" were never just tracks on an album. They were emotional lifelines. Those lyrics became personal mantras during illness, grief, distance, and uncertainty. There is a powerful irony in how music meant to uplift others can later reflect the artist's own internal battles. Brad's songwriting always carried an undercurrent of vulnerability, even when framed as strength. He sang about standing tall while acknowledging weakness, about hope existing alongside fear. That balance is why his words still feel alive years later. Fans didn't just hear confidence, they heard honesty. In moments when life felt overwhelming, Brad's voice offered reassurance without pretending everything would be perfect. That quiet empathy is what elevated his music beyond entertainment and into something enduring, something people returned to when they needed to feel understood. The weight of survival, the story of Three Doors Down, is not only one of success, but of survival. As the years passed, tragedy touched the band in deeply personal ways, leaving Brad as the emotional anchor holding a fractured history together. Losing close friends and bandmates changed him, not just as a musician, but as a man. The public saw continuity, but behind the scenes, the cost was heavy. Grief has a way of reshaping perspective, and Brad carried that grief quietly while continuing to lead. Being the last original pillar standing meant carrying memories others could not. It meant honoring the past without being trapped by it. That kind of endurance requires more than talent. It requires emotional strength few ever see. Brad's ability to keep going, to keep creating, speaks to a resilience forged through loss rather than fame. The battle no one saw. For a long time, Brad Arnold chose silence, not because he had something to hide, but because he wanted to protect what mattered most. When health challenges entered his life, he faced them privately, determined not to let speculation define him. Fame has a way of turning personal struggles into public property, and Brad resisted that intrusion with quiet resolve. He didn't want sympathy-driven applause or concern overshadowing the music. Instead, he focused on what he had always done best, showing up when he could and giving what he had. That choice required immense strength. Living with uncertainty while maintaining a public role is a burden few can imagine. Yet Brad carried it with dignity, choosing intention over noise. His silence was not weakness, it was control, a way of keeping ownership of his story until he was ready to share it. From addiction to clarity. Brad Arnold has never hidden the fact that his path included darker chapters. Like many artists navigating fame, loss, and pressure, he struggled with alcohol before choosing a different direction. Sobriety became a turning point, not just physically, but spiritually. He spoke openly about faith, responsibility, and the importance of presence, becoming a rare example of quiet accountability in rock culture. This transformation reshaped how he approached life and music. He wasn't chasing escape anymore, he was choosing clarity. That decision allowed him to reconnect with purpose, grounding his success in meaning rather than excess. Fans noticed the shift, not because he announced it loudly, but because it showed in his steadiness. Brad's recovery story became a reminder that strength isn't about never falling, but about standing back up with intention and choosing a better way forward. When the truth was finally shared. When Brad Arnold eventually addressed his health publicly, he did so without drama or spectacle. There was no press tour, no headline-chasing performance. Instead, he spoke calmly, directly, and honestly to the people who had supported him for decades. In that moment, the invincible frontman stepped aside, revealing a man grounded in acceptance rather than fear. He didn't frame his situation as a tragedy, but as a reality he was facing with faith and resolve. That response surprised many, not because of denial, but because of peace. Brad reminded listeners that while the body can struggle, the spirit doesn't have to surrender. His words reframed the conversation from loss to meaning. By owning his narrative, he stripped power from rumors and replaced uncertainty with clarity, showing that honesty, delivered with grace, can be profoundly empowering. Faith over fear. One of the most defining elements of Brad Arnold's journey has been his unwavering faith. When confronted with uncertainty, he chose belief over bitterness and gratitude over resentment. Rather than asking why, he focused on how to live meaningfully in the present. That mindset reshaped how fans understood his music, especially songs once interpreted as defiance. Listening again, many heard acceptance woven beneath the strength. Brad's faith didn't erase fear, it placed it in context. He acknowledged reality without being ruled by it. This approach resonated deeply in a world often obsessed with control. By embracing humility, he demonstrated a different kind of power, one rooted in peace. His example reminded listeners that courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it speaks softly, reassuring others that it's possible to face uncertainty without losing oneself. A legacy still unfolding. Brad Arnold's legacy cannot be measured solely in album sales or chart positions, though those numbers are impressive. Its true value lies in the moments his music has accompanied. Long drives, quiet rooms, crowded arenas, and private battles. His songs continue to live, evolving with the people who listen to them. Each replay adds another layer of meaning, another memory attached. Brad showed that art doesn't need perfection to endure. It needs sincerity. His journey, marked by resilience, faith, and honesty, continues to inspire conversations about what really matters. Even now, his voice remains a companion rather than a relic. The door he opened through his music is still open, inviting reflection, comfort, and connection. That ongoing presence proves that meaningful art doesn't end. It continues to walk beside those who need it. Strength redefined. In the end, Brad Arnold's story challenges how we define strength. It isn't about being bulletproof or untouched by hardship. It's about standing tall while acknowledging fragility. From a teenager writing lyrics in a classroom to a man navigating life's heaviest questions, Brad has consistently chosen authenticity. His journey asks listeners to look inward and consider how they face their own struggles. Would we choose fear or faith, silence or intention, bitterness or gratitude? Brad's life and music suggest that strength lies in honesty and presence. His songs remain reminders that vulnerability and courage can coexist. As fans continue to find comfort in his words, one truth becomes clear. The most powerful legacy is not invincibility, but humanity. And in that sense, Brad Arnold's voice continues to matter, now more than ever.